Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. SwimBait79 here. Today's video is going to be about my best baits for the month of November. We are already here in the start of the cold winter up here in the PNW. Things are really going to drastically change in the next 2 weeks. About the middle of November is really when it starts to get cold here and the fish really shut down. Definitely move out, vacate the shallows, a majority of them. There's still always going to be resident shallow fish all year round, no matter what body of water you go to. But a majority of your fish are going to go out. They're going to follow bait, follow all the other fish or most other fish, and go out to the deepest part of the lake. That's where the warmest water is going to be, and they're going to hunker down there and kind of winter to themselves. And they don't feed as often, but they're still opportunity feeders, so they're still going to feed whenever given the opportunity to feed. So with that in mind, these baits, majority of them are going to be moving baits, as I am a power fisherman. I do not like throwing wacky worms. I once did do all that, but now I have eliminated a majority of the slower techniques out from my arsenal, and I have stuck with bigger baits, as in swim baits, spinner baits, top waters, everything. I've really kind of gotten into swim baits the last 2-3 years. I've kind of even shied away from top water at times just to teach myself about swim bait and throwing a swim bait and different types of swim baits for different situations. But anyway, with that all being said, the first 2 weeks of November up here in the PNW are still prime time to catch a freaking fish of a lifetime. On a moving bait up shallow. Not like you can't do it at the end of the month or even 1st of December or January, but this November, 2 weeks in November, the first 2 weeks of November in the PNW, I still catch quite a bit of fish and quite a few of, better than average size fish. I catch a lot of the 4 to 7 pound fish this time of the year. With that being said, let's go ahead and kick this off with the first bait. It's going to be a jerk bait. I used to hate a jerk bait. I used to have no confidence in a jerk bait, but I still had 3 or 4 jerk baits at the time. Years later, I became more accustomed to, mixing in with the jerk bait, and one day I just started getting bites on the jerk bait, and I had a heck of a day that day. So I kind of taught myself how to throw a jerk bait. After that certain situation, I did go and buy a specific jerk bait rod so I could have a jerk bait tied on just about the entire year. This is a Shimano Caius. This is just a Walmart special. I paid $96 for this. It is a medium action, 6'8", if I remember correct. Upside down. Yes, it's a 6'8", medium action, 8 to 15 pound line. It's fast action. I have it with 12-pound fluorocarbon. I have here a 6 cents 106 Provoke jerkbait in the wasabi color. Has just a 100 size reel. I think it's a 721 type of a reel. A little bit fast, but still the 150 size of a reel. Holds a ton of line. It's just the perfect rod. I'm more of a budget angler. I don't like spending a ton of money on rod and reels. I'm not one to spend 400, 300, 400 on just a rod or a reel. 200, a little bit over 200, probably about the max I would pay for a reel. And I'm talking a 300 size from Bass Pro Shop. But that's besides the point. Back to the jerkbait. Jerkbait, it's just a great bait. This rod is perfect for a jerkbait, in my opinion. I've caught a ton of fish with it. I always have one tied on. I can easily cut that off and tie on these other ones. So the 6 cents Provoke 106 is pretty good jerk bait. I've always been a fan of the Strike King KVD 300. This is the 300 size, 200 size. Comes with 2 hooks. This is more of your creek, ponds, smaller lakes, lakes with smaller bait fish profiles, or if you just stuck throwing a fairy wand, this will easily fit and be castable friendly on a fairy wand. Your bigger model, which I really prefer throwing, this is in clear IU. This is one of my favorite colors in a Strike King KVD 300. It's just got a great little transfer system in there. You can chuck this thing a freaking mile. There are times later in the winter I will put this 300 size on a 6-pound test on a fairy wand. Excuse me. And I will cast it out there, wind it down about 4 to 5, maybe 6 cranks, get it down to the depth, and then twitch, twitch, pause. Your pause, length of pause is going to depend on the water temp. The colder it is, the longer the pause. The warmer it is, the less of a pause. So I usually start out with a 3 second and I move to a 5 second, 7 second, and then a 10 second. If a 10 second doesn't work, then I just automatically pack my shit up and go home. No, I usually try something else. But usually I try not to go past 10 second. There are times when the water is super cold and I need to put some suspend dots on there, but that will be for another video. It's just a way you can manipulate your bait to do what you need it to do. Anyway, this is Clear IU, one of my favorite colors. Sorry, folks, I don't remember what color this is, but this is one of those colors I love to throw when the sun is out. The Clear IU will work when the sun is out or when it's overcast. I had one of my greatest days at Lake X with this bait. With the clouds, when it was cloudy. Once again, that's Clear IU. I forget the name of this color, but I love this color. Catch a ton of fish on it. Has a slight hook rash on it. That's just from getting used. Also comes in the 200 size. Twitch, pause. This is a 6 cents Provoke 106 in the bluegill color. Got some hook rash. I've caught some very nice fish with this. Once again, this is the Strike King KVD 300 size. There's some gooiness from a suspend dot I put on there to manipulate the fall rate of the bait. This is for when it's super cloudy out, low light, first thing in the morning. You see this flash and this chartreuse on the bottom of the bait just really pops, flashes, attracts the bass right to it. Anyway, I usually throw it on anywhere from 6-pound all the way up to 12-pound. I try not to go above 12-pound. Normally, if you stay around the 8 to 10-pound line size for a jerkbait, you'll be better off. Doesn't really matter if it's on a bait caster or a fairy wand. Really, choice is yours. The warmer the water, the more likelihood I'll be throwing it on the bait caster. The more colder the water, I'm going to put it on the fairy wand. Other than that, that is about it with the jerkbait. So that is bait number 1. Bait number 2 is going to be swim jigs. Swim jigs, you can flat out catch some fish with, especially in colder water. Dirty jigs, in my opinion, make one of the best, if not the best, swim jig out on the market. I like the bigger size swim jigs. This is a 3/4 ounce dirty jigs California Swim has a beefy hook. I have no problem with this hook bending out, giving me any problems whatsoever with that, as most jigs do, swim jigs. This is once again, if you can see, this is a yellow perch color. This is a bluegill color. I have them rigged up, different color trailers, but basically they mimic the same thing. They're going to look like a bluegill. This is one that has this tail bit off. I just never replaced the tail, but you can easily see any one of these colors. This is what they look like in the packaging. California Swim Jig, 3/4 ounce, bluegill number 2. The type of trailer I like to use on the swim jig is going to be a Gambler. This is just a phenomenal trailer. I have this in the 5-inch. I usually snip off about 1 inch. It's just the thickness of the tail and what this tail does. The bigger size, overall bigger size of it, or actually this is 5.5 1/4 inch. I'm sorry, I said it was 5-inch. It's 5 1/4. It's the Big Easy by Gambler. It's just one of my favorite swim jig trailers. I usually try to get it in the 5-inch or 5 1/4. I prefer that little bit bigger size than most people do prefer on a swim jig. A lot of people go for the 3.8 or the 4.8. I prefer at least a 5 to, if not bigger. You can easily attract a little bit more and get a few more bites if you simply just dip your tip of your tail in this Spike It Dip and Glow. I've shown it and showcased it many times in my videos before. Sometimes it's the difference of getting bit and not getting bit, especially when the bite is tough. Type of rods and setups that I throw the swim jigs on is going to be just your typical 7-foot medium heavy, your typical frog rod, your all-around bass fishing rod. Your other 3/4 ounce, a little bit bigger, heavier. You can even beef that up to a 7'6" heavy action rod. It'll do you just fine. Line. Normally, I'm going to throw this on 50 to 65 pound braid, straight braid. If there's a lot of grass, a lot of cover around, if it's just docks in open water, a lot of times I'm going to have that on 17 to 20 pound fluorocarbon on a 7-foot to 7'6" medium heavy rod. It's basically like a spinnerbait. Yeah, I catch a lot of fish, a lot of quality fish, especially if the water's cold and the bite sucks. I will put my head down and put this in my hand, and I will get the fish in that bait. The other part of this bait choice of swim jigs is going to be a normal size jig that you can drag on the bottom. And this is the type of jigs I like to use. This is a 3/4 ounce hybrid jig made by 6 cents. This is a 1/2 ounce. This is a 3/4 ounce. I just simply matched it up with a Zoom chunk. As you can see, I like to use a little bit bigger of a style of or bigger sized jig this time of the year, especially dragging it. So I go with the 3/4 ounce type of jigs to 1 ounce jigs. I don't have any 1 ounce jigs currently right now, but I have 3/4 ounce football jigs. I like the heavier jigs because I can throw them out there and I have bottom contact the entire time that I'm dragging the lure. I'm not really hopping it. I'm not really being aggressive with it. I just want to hop it, or just kind of drag it, not hop it, drag it, stop. Just be real slow with it, but get ready because you're going to feel that thump. I've gotten away from fishing jigs a lot lately. Over the last probably 10 years, I've gotten away from it. Used to be one of my favorite ways to fish was to sit there and just drag a jig. It's a solid lure. It catches some really above average size fish most of the time. It is you still can catch some, smaller size fish, but it still catches fish. Type of rods I'm going to throw this on is just like the swim jig rod, 7 foot, 7 foot to 7'6" medium heavy to even a 7'6" heavy action rod. Uh, Either straight braid or you can go with the fluorocarbon. Types of places I will drag this is on points, road beds, around docks, grass lines, outside of grass lines, around, I'll pitch and flip this bait around like lily pad stems, all types of stuff. You can catch some really nice fish with jigs right now, whether you swim them or you drag them. Some of my favorite trailers would be any of your crawfish type trailers. I have a couple of them here from the summer that I really was intrigued with using. This is the Lake Fork Pro Craw. A little bit smaller in size, but the durability of this bait is phenomenal. And you can even, cross color your bait. Have a black and blue jig with the green pumpkin trailer. Nothing wrong with that. It will still get munched. You even put on one of these crash craws on here, made by Power Bait Berkeley. A great bait, great choice. Just your basic crawfish would be a sufficient trailer for this. Remember the all-time favorite Zoom makes these super craw or super salty chunks, I think is the name of it. Anyway, that's just the perfect color to match that jig. Gets chomped. All right, so that's gonna take away the jerk bait, the swim jig, and the jig. Now we're gonna talk about one of my favorite baits that I'm gonna be throwing tomorrow, which is the spinnerbait. The first 2 weeks of Pacific Northwest weather still normally is above the 50-degree mark, so the fish are still highly active. There's not so much fish up shallow. You have to cover some water to be able to find some fish set up in certain areas, and you got to kind of fish for them. Sometimes they can be hitting the bait funny, or they can give you just some stupid finicky type of bites. I highly recommend, if you're using a spinner bait, to not throw it without putting on a trailer hook. I utilize a 3/0 trailer hook on my spinner baits. I like all the War Eagle. I like the Strike King spinner baits. I prefer the bigger spinner baits so I can throw them a little bit further and I can cover more water. This is the preferred type of trailer hook that I want, that I utilize. It's a free swinging. I fish it in a lot of heavy cover. But this is a 3/4 ounce model. It's a wannabe War Eagle. I throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon, 7'6" medium heavy rod. I can chuck it a mile. I can cover a lot of water fairly fast. Now my spinner baits below 3/4 ounce, more than a 1/2 ounce, in smaller range, I'm going to throw on a little bit smaller of a setup. This is a 7-foot medium heavy. I have it spooled up with 17-pound fluorocarbon. It's a 100 size reel. It just gets the job done. This is a War Eagle Wake spinnerbait. One of my favorite spinnerbaits. It just gets bit no matter what the situation is. Late in the year, early in the year, middle of the summer, doesn't matter. It gets bit. War Eagle Wake spinnerbait, 1/2 ounce. This is what it looks like, even though it says 3/8. What the packaging looks like. I highly recommend each and every one of you that watch this video to go and pick yourself up one of these this Christmas season, so you could start this off this March, April. May, catch yourself some frickin' hogs. Over the years, I usually catch about 100 to 200 fish on spinnerbaits every year. It's my #1 search bait. It flat out gets bit. It's a bait that a lot of people have gotten away and started to throw the vibrating jigs to chatterbaits, and instead of throwing the old school spinnerbaits. I don't know when the spinnerbaits were first introduced into the world of bass fishing, but they've been around for a long time, and they're responsible for so many fish. Me personally, I've caught so many fish in the 5-6 pound range, 4, 5, 6 pound range here in the PNW every year. I've been here for almost 20 years, and I have flat out caught so many big fish with the spinnerbait. As you can see, I have some variations. I like to make some Frankenstein spinnerbaits where they're 3-bladed monsters on 3/4 ounce frames. This is a Nichols frame. Has 3 blades on it. You can easily make something up of this with your old blades. So that's going to take care of spinnerbaits. I know that's kind of quick on the spinnerbait. So next thing is going to be crankbaits, and I got 2 types of crankbaits in this crankbait category. I have the lipless crankbait, and I have the actual lipped crankbait, your shallow crankbait. I'm going to go ahead and start off with the shallow crankbait. My first choice is going to be the 80 Movement X made by 6 Cents. This is in a red craw. Right now is the time to throw the red craw in the fall. They really want to feed up. If a big fish sees this bait moving through the water column, it's going to take a shot at it. I've caught some very nice fish on this bait. You can fish this up super shallow. You can fish it in the mid depths. It moves a ton of water. It's not created like all other crankbaits. The 80 Movement X from 6 Cents. I'm a big time lover of that whole style of crankbait. Learned that from Ben Milliken. I love that bait. Another shallow choice you can go with is the Rapala OG. It's Ott's Garage, made by Ott Defoe, or designed by Ott Defoe. It's a thin-sided crankbait. Dives to about 5 to 7 foot, depending on the line size. I usually throw it on a 7-foot medium action rod, 12-pound line. More or less, I throw this around a lot more rock or docks. Can never go wrong with this. Another one that just gets bit, especially around docks and open water, is this little Crush 50 in a red craw made by 6 Cents. Just this thing gets munched. A couple of lakes out there in Mason County, Washington. Here's some other square bills that get recommended, made by 6 Cents. They're just different shades and hues of the old color red. Here's another one. Love that. Here's the Strike King 8.0 Magnum square bill. I caught my PB smallmouth on this at Lake Washington in 28 feet of water. That fish weighed 4.53 pounds, something like that. 4.54, something like that. Anyway, I love that bait. Okay, so the other part of the crankbait, you can even throw this Crush 50. You throw some of these crankbaits on a fairy wand, but highly recommend throwing these type of crankbaits on the bait cast outfits. You can still get away with some on some fairy wands, but a majority of them, I'm gonna prefer to throw them on the bait casters. I have way more confidence, way more feeling of being able to make a accurate cast. So for those that don't know, you're going to be way more accurate throwing baits on a bait caster compared to a spinning outfit. So the other part of, back to the crankbait thing, the other part of the crankbait is going to be the lipless crankbaits. I used to throw these a lot in East Texas when I first picked up this nasty habit. Some of my favorite baits are going to be the Strike King Red Eye Shad. I like the 3/4 ounce. Here's a couple of 3/4 ounce. I like the Eagle Claw 3 times strong round bend. That's size number 4. I change out the split rings on all of my lipless cranks, especially if I'm fishing around grass. You normally fish these on straight braid, ripping it through the grass in the deeper parts of the lake. This is the Berkeley War Pig, one of my favorite ones for rock and clear water. Got some hook rash on it. It's caught some very nice fish on it. They've knocked the eye off of it. So to me, the lipless cranks are easier to throw on fairy wands. Don't hesitate. Like, this is ½ ounce. This is a ½ ounce. Don't hesitate to go down to a 1/4 ounce. 1/4 ounce rattle traps are highly underrated baits. They will flat out catch some fish. That is the best thing about the lipless crankbaits. They all sound different. Just as if you're trying to figure out which one to pick out and you're confused on the color and the sound, just hold the package and shake the shit out of it. See if you like the sound. Maybe you do. Old Bill Lewis, I think it is, from East Texas. Kind of retired it. Don't fish it no more. Just a flat out fish catcher. Once again, I like to throw those on same crankbait outfits. 7 foot medium to 7 foot medium heavy. For the bigger traps, I like to use the 7 foot heavy action with 65-pound braid, or I'll use a 7'3" with 50-pound braid. Just kind of depends. Areas I like to fish that. I like to fish the rattle traps in open water with the simple yo-yo effect and yo-yo retrieve, which is pretty easy to figure out how to do. One of the first times, quick little tip, one of the first times I tried that technique and I did that yo-yo type of a retrieve, I actually caught a fish in East Texas pond in the wintertime. It just totally blew my mind. But anyway, back to the baits. So last bait that is going to get recommended is what I've been throwing is a big swim bait. Whether it's a 6-inch, 8-inch, or a 10-inch swim bait, or bigger. If you know my channel and you're familiar with me, you know lately I've been throwing the Kitech. This is the 7.8 Kitech. This one's been munched on. This is what I kind of throw it on. Check out my other video, how to modify this 10-aught flashy, or 10-aught owner beast flashy swimmer hook. I take off that stupid little weak wire and I put on this little hardware that beefs it up. You never have another problem with it. Once again, this bait is chewed up, it's chomped, got some rust, some damage, but it's still kicking, still getting bit. But yes, you can never go wrong with a big swim bait. This is what the 7.8 Kitech look like. One of my favorite colors, especially when the low light, overcast, raining. Yes, sir. But another bait that I want to throw right now is the 10-inch mag draft. This is an albino shad. I've even modified the original hook and put a owner ST56 on there. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the giant bait like this. I'm not looking for a 3 to 5 pound fish with this. I'm looking for fish that are over 5 pounds, 5 to 7 pounds with this bait. I don't care if fish, 3-pounders with this bait. Hog hunting. Anyway, I appreciate everybody that's made it this far in the video. I know this time of the year can be tough, but I shit you not. If you can just believe in me and go hard the first 2 weeks of November, it could be very rewarding. Just be safe out there. Until next time, Swimbait 79 out.